there's so much to lose compared to other games.
The grind makes you appreciate what you have more.
It definitely is very satisfying to grief in the game.
If ARK was made today, it wouldn't have done so well.
Why can't people quit playing ARK? You can ask the same thing of people who are stuck into World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, or Warframe. If it's just a game, what makes it so hard to just put it down and move on? And why are ARK players especially addicted to the point where a single player can put upwards of 30,000 hours or more into the game? I wanted to find answers, so I spoke to multiple people who play the game's official servers, and needless to say, it's not as simple as you'd expect.
We can pretty much make the game a nightmare for new players.
Not only, guys, can you win a free legendary plus 2 strong epic heroes, but also you can win a free gaming console. I repeat, a free gaming console. And if that's not enough, there will also be Amazon gift cards with a total value of $10,000 and a lot of other in-game prizes. But what do you have to do to win all of this, you might be asking? Well, it's simple. You need to download Raid Shadow Legends. Yes, they are the sponsor of this video, and we're celebrating the arrival of spring in Teleria with a special spring hunt minigame. Simply download Raid using my link in the description, head to this website, enter your Raid ID, and join the competition. On top of this, Raid is also celebrating community weeks dedicated to the Raid players. They're also giving everyone a legendary champion, Chronicler Adeline, and a promo code to all users. She's amazing at placing valuable debuffs while bypassing the block debuffs buff, so build her with plenty of accuracy. Just log in for 7 days between now and July 8th to get her. Again, we're celebrating the arrival of spring in Teleria with a special spring hunt minigame event starting from April 15th to May 30th. Players will need to find hidden items around the Mistwood. Once they've completed the minigame, they could win real-life prizes, like I said, like the gaming console or Amazon gift cards with a total value of $10,000, or, in-game loot like legendary champions or skill tomes. And this is the first time Raid is giving away such cool real-life prizes. So if you haven't started playing yet, what are you waiting for? Click my link in the description or scan my QR code to get insane bonuses available only via my link. You will immediately get a huge starter pack with an epic champion Terrell from the High Elves faction, and you'll get another starter pack after reaching level 25 that includes an epic Rector Droth. Don't forget that all of these champions are available after downloading via my custom link or QR code only. After downloading the game via my link, use this promo code to get silver and more. It's available for both new and existing players. Come find me under the name Netty the Noodle and join my clan, the Noodle Bowl. Thank you to Raid for sponsoring this video. But back to our story. ARK Survival Ascended had a lot to live up to, being the remaster of its predecessor, Survival Evolved, the sandbox survival dinosaur indie that hooked in millions of players. But ARK isn't indie anymore. With millions of dollars flowing in and out of the IP, it's shifted into something different entirely, which is gonna rub off on the players. Where are those same players who got hooked in years ago? And how do they influence the new ones who are just getting into the game for the first time in 2024? ARK hooks players better than so many survival games. But why? Where does it all start? What is this trap exactly that seems so effective at netting in thousands of players? Well, I'm gonna let the developer of ARK, Studio Wildcard's co-founder Jeremy Steiglitz, break it down in a rather blunt interview he did in 2017.
It definitely is very satisfying to grief in the game, to tear down someone's hard-built work. I mean, that's a very human impulse, for better or worse. If you see someone build a sandcastle, someone else wants to come and kick it down. That stickiness really helped keep players engaged.
To prevent players from moving on to the next game, Studio Wildcard created that stickiness, as Steiglitz called it, and wouldn't you know, it worked. You can see no other perfect example of this stickiness than on the official servers for the game. Think about it, the servers basically never wipe, and they allow players to engage with the ever-growing vastness of content within the game, all at 1x or default rates most of the time, meaning that the grind of the game is as severe as they designed it to be. As players survive on the ARK, they build up more content. They collect more stuff. Maybe they get their own sandcastle knocked down, but some of them try again and again and again until they become the direct consequence of massive tribes on the network, collectively becoming those massive tribes themselves, spurring wars through major digital conflict. It is because of how hard it is to acquire their tames, their weapons, and bases that the conflict is enriched with realism, grittiness, and competition, these things that are so human. YouTube duo under the name Game Changer offered their explanation for this kind of digital weight.
There is a craving for official. There's something about official which I cannot get from an unofficial server. The grind makes you appreciate what you have more. So if you've got a big base, you've farmed for a long time to make it, you really appreciate what you've built.
The harder you have to work, the more what you worked for seems to matter. And that's not just a sentiment echoed by Game Changer. I spoke to other official players and heard the exact same kind of reasoning explained, like official PvE player Arcane.
I've played official, I've played unofficial. Official feels more like real. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it feels more accomplishing because it's on like the official network where it's constantly one times. When I've played on an unofficial, I'm aware that like it could go away anytime really, whereas official will always be there.
On unofficial servers, hosts can change their mind at any time, erasing months or years of progress of players, whereas official you could say is more guaranteed. Even though official might feel more accomplishing or alluring for some players, is that really a good thing? Not all players seem to think so, like ARK official veteran Azriel.
So recently, I actually made the choice to fully boycott ARK. I'm investing my time into 2 other games, which I believe is better mentally. Obviously, I love the game. It's fucking amazing, regardless of my slight mild hatred towards the way it went. Originally, I liked the hardcore nature, but as the years went on, I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's a fairly toxic game design, if I'm honest.
I covered the toxicity that breeds within and around the ARK community as a result of its game design in a previous video that you should watch after you finish this one, which I'll link down below. But is the game design itself really toxic? Is it the responsibility of players to know what they're getting into before playing a game like ARK, or is it on the developers? While the game design might be gripping, what about the content? What makes ARK's stuff so special, and why is it that the game's grind seems to hook players so well?
I think that the setting is really unique in compared to most survival games, at least the ones that came at the same time as ARK. And gameplay-wise, obviously the creatures and everything makes the gameplay a lot more interesting.
So, like player Arat Prime suggested, is it the gameplay around the creatures and the setting they inhabit, or is it something else?
It's just cool. I like the sort of like really realistic graphics and stuff with just all the cool things like Rexes and Wyverns and stuff like that. All the other stuff you found like really interesting as a kid.
What got me into ARK was mostly roleplay. I started as a role player. They did the Survival the Fittest tournament, and I got invited. And I was like, I'm not really that much of a PvPer. I won that tournament, the first tournament, and then from there I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna keep playing ARK because apparently I'm good at it.
Whether it's the graphics, the setting, the creatures, the community aspect, the role-playing like Mr. Dolphin suggested, or the PvP in the tournaments, ARK clearly doesn't just rely on one allure or another. It's a collection of several features, mechanics, and deliberate design elements to create the unique environment that traps so many in its addicting grind. This makes it difficult to establish how a competing game could possibly ever topple ARK. With so many elements mixed in, what exactly would a game need to do to throw off the balance and grip the same market?
If ARK was made today, it wouldn't have done so well like it did, because survival game players were a lot different now than there were in 2015, 2016. You know, we had a lot more time, and nowadays people have less time overall because, you know, real world stuff and, you know, the economy and things like that. So it's really hard for any survival game to compete against ARK or be like ARK or take over ARK, because like I said, you will have to make it more MMO where progress will have to be saved on the cloud.
What Mr. Dolphin suggested is that real-world influences of people simply not having as much time as they did back in 2015, whether from the pandemic, the economy, or simply a shift of cultural gaming interests, has changed ARK players, while ARK itself hasn't changed all that much from a design perspective. Regardless, unless a competing game were to replicate the same kind of environment as ARK, especially with official servers where players can build stuff up and lose it years later, it's hard to say if a game will ever do ARK better than ARK itself.
I think it's because the game is so competitive on the PvP side. Like, for example, Rust. You can just play the game for like a week and then it wipes and then you forget about it. But in ARK, you have things that you have built up for years, and then all of a sudden the server gets wiped and then you just break that community.
According to players like Mr. Dolphin, morale on official 1x servers is currently doing well for itself. 1x is the standard type of official server where megatribes persist. While this is good for those in megatribes, it's not so good for new players.
Well, I have people every now and then go on my server and they're like, help, I can't leave the server because you have all the obelisks, every drop is spam, so I can't transfer out. So you have sometimes people just stuck and they have to either make a new character or quit the game. And that's one of the biggest problems I think Wildcard needs to address, because we can pretty much make the game a nightmare for new players.
If 1x official PvP, with its mega tribes and complete lockdowns that enforcement does nothing about, is a nightmare for new players, there is an alternative PvP server type called small tribes or 6-man. But according to Mr. Dolphin and Arcane, it may be just as bad, but for a different reason.
In 1x, maybe I'll see an aimbotter every now and then, but on 6-man, you see them constantly.
PvP, I know, is especially like the small tribe side of things, is just a wasteland of cheating and aimbotting and all that stuff, which hasn't changed from ASE, which is part of why I stopped playing PvP in the first place.
As Arcane mentioned, ASE had many of the same problems that ASA has today with its official servers, which for ASE had been completely shut down with the launch of the remaster. The shutdown was done to repurpose the servers for the remaster, and according to Mr. Dolphin, this had little effect on PvP players.
Compared to ASC, there was barely any PvP. From 2021 to 2023, PvP was almost dead. There was like almost no PvP at all because of the changes, the meta, the lack of enforcement, and things like that. On ASA, there's a lot more PvP.
Mr. Dolphin argues that official PvE is less popular, however, on ASE because there's less content. Effectively, the inverse problem of PvP on the remaster.
On the PvE side, why would you play ASA when you have much more content on ASC? I think that's only benefiting consoles because consoles didn't have mods. So, but on the PvP side, we're good. We're having the greatest time of our lives right now, PvPing, because there's so much PvP.
So if what Mr. Dolphin says is true, official PvPers, at least those on 1x, seem to have a better time on ASA because of the lack of huge metas introduced in the Extinction expansion and onward back in ASE, whereas PvE players who primarily focus on the content itself and who relied on the vast amount of it in ASE may feel better off playing the original game on their own unofficial servers, since that is their only option now other than playing on ASA, which objectively has less content if you rule out mods. The movement of players from ASE to ASA has proven to be a slow one, and it has since split the community nearly in half, pretty much straight down the middle if you're looking strictly at the Steam charts. It sounds like from all the data I gathered, a big problem right now in moving the rest of the player base over is, well, of course, the fact that many players can't even run the darn game. But aside from that, the content just isn't there yet. It doesn't matter how many mods have been made or how many are paid versus free. First and foremost, if you want lots of players, you need lots of content. The PvP players have their dynamics and can make do with what they've got, but PvE needs more to sink their teeth into. Over the coming years, we may see a switch of the dynamic, where PvEers are more attracted to the game and its increasing roster of maps and replayability, whereas new metas may offset the balance of PvP and create a stale experience for competitive players, resulting in the same exact problem that plagued ASE. But we'll only know for sure by the time the base game content cycle slows down or stops entirely. What happens next? Will ARK Survival Ascended continue to addict and hook players for years to come, or will it be toppled? I want to know what you guys think, genuinely, because I've been trying to wrap my head around the answer to that question for years now. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for more. And as always, thanks for watching.